The Dead Stay Dumb, 1940, by James Hadley Chase. Introduction: A descent into darkness. What drives a man to kill not just once, but over and over again? Is it greed, desperation, or something far more sinister, an addiction to power, to the thrill of violence? And once a man chooses that path, is there ever a way out? James Hadley Chase's The Dead Stay Dumb, first published in 1940, is a blistering tale of crime, ambition, and the ruthless pursuit of power. Set against the unforgiving backdrop of the American underworld, the novel follows Dylan, a man who rises from nothing, carving a path through life with sheer brutality. He is cunning, remorseless, and dangerously ambitious. But as he ascends the ranks of crime, leaving bodies in his wake, one question looms: can anyone who lives by the gun ever truly escape its consequences? Written by a British author who had never set foot in America, The Dead Stay Dumb is a testament to Chase's extraordinary ability to capture the raw, cutthroat nature of the country's criminal underworld. Drawing heavy inspiration from American pulp fiction and real-life crime stories, the novel was part of Chase's broader success in the noir genre, earning both acclaim and controversy. Some critics accused Chase of glorifying violence, while others praised his masterful storytelling and sharp, fast-paced dialogue. James Hadley Chase, often called the king of thriller writers, crafted an unforgettable world where morality is a weakness and survival belongs to the ruthless. His works, influenced by the hard-boiled crime novels of writers like James M. Cain and Dashiell Hammett, brought a uniquely British touch to the gritty, unforgiving streets of American crime fiction. At its heart, The Dead Stay Dumb asks a chilling question: can a man built on violence ever escape his fate? This material was provided by Dad-Son Education, a not-for-profit organization dedicated to bringing literature to life and making classic crime fiction accessible to all. Chapter 1: The Birth of a Killer. 1. Dylan's harsh beginnings. Dylan never had a chance at an honest life. Born into poverty, he learned from an early age that kindness was a weakness and survival was a game of strength. The streets were his first teacher, and they taught him one simple rule: power isn't given, it's taken. While other boys his age dreamed of a better future, Dylan only cared about one thing: never being weak again. Even as a child, he had a sharp, calculating mind. He studied the men around him, the gangsters, the hustlers, the men who had real power. They weren't good men, but they were feared, and to Dylan, fear was more valuable than love. By the time he was a teenager, he had already made up his mind he would not spend his life scraping for pennies or begging for scraps. If the world wasn't going to give him what he wanted, he would take it. 2. First taste of blood. Dylan's first crime was small, just a simple break-in, a quick grab and run. But it wasn't enough. The thrill of the risk, the rush of adrenaline, it made him hungry for more. And soon, more came. One night, a job went wrong. A man got in his way, and in a split second, Dylan made a choice that would define his life. He pulled the trigger. The man fell. Silence. Then, a strange sensation washed over Dylan, not fear, not regret. Power. There was no remorse, no hesitation. He felt alive in a way he never had before. Killing wasn't just necessary, it was exhilarating. He had stepped over an invisible line, and there was no turning back. 3. The path to darkness. Dylan's first kill changed him. Something inside him shifted, and the idea of taking a life no longer seemed monstrous, it seemed natural. The man he killed had been an obstacle, nothing more. And if obstacles could be removed this easily, why stop? His crimes escalated. He started working with small-time criminals, learning the ropes of the underworld. Every job, every heist, every life he ended made him more confident, more dangerous. He was no longer a desperate kid from the streets, he was becoming something else. The fear that once drove him was gone, replaced by a new kind of hunger. Not just for money, not just for survival, but for domination. He didn't want to be just another criminal, he wanted to rule. And now, nothing would stop him. Chapter 2: Ambition Has No Conscience. 1. Climbing the crime ladder. Dylan's hunger for power is insatiable, and small-time crimes no longer satisfy him. He wants more, bigger jobs, bigger scores, and more control. His reputation for ruthlessness catches the attention of a crime syndicate looking for fresh blood. They see potential in him, and he sees an opportunity. Joining the syndicate is his first real step into the world of organized crime. Unlike the small-time crooks he worked with before, these men play by a different set of rules Dylan is eager to break if it means getting ahead. He quickly proves himself, taking on riskier jobs, eliminating rivals, and handling dirty work others are too afraid to touch. His name spreads. He is no longer just another thug, he is becoming someone people fear. But Dylan knows that fear alone won't keep him at the top. If he wants true power, he must take it. And that means removing anyone who stands in his way. 2. The betrayal of a mentor. Every criminal has a teacher, someone who shows them the ropes, and for Dylan, that man is Charlie Mendez. A seasoned operator in the syndicate, Mendez takes Dylan under his wing, teaching him everything he needs to know about the business, how to handle deals, how to avoid the cops, and most importantly, how to survive. At first, Dylan respects Mendez. But ambition is a dangerous thing, and as Dylan rises in the ranks, he begins to see Mendez as more of an obstacle than an ally. Mendez still holds influence over the syndicate, and Dylan hates taking orders. The decision is inevitable. One night, Dylan lures Mendez into a trap under the guise of discussing business. When Mendez realizes the betrayal, it's too late. Dylan pulls the trigger, cold and emotionless. His mentor, the man who made him what he is, falls dead at his feet. Dylan feels no remorse. This is the price of power, and he is willing to pay it. With Mendez out of the way, he seizes control, stepping into his mentor's place without hesitation. But with great power comes even greater paranoia. 3. Paranoia sets in. The more powerful Dylan becomes, the more enemies he makes. He knows how the game works, just as he killed Mendez, someone will eventually try to kill him. He trusts no one, always watching his back, always expecting betrayal. He begins cutting off anyone who might be a threat, even his closest allies. One wrong look, one suspicious move, and they're gone. His empire grows, but so does the paranoia. He sleeps with a gun under his pillow, avoids staying in one place for too long, and constantly tests the loyalty of those around him. Dylan is at the top of the food chain, but at what cost? He has power, money, and fear on his side, but deep down, he knows one truth. In the world he has built, no one stays untouchable forever. Chapter 3. Love is just another weakness. 1. Meeting Myra. Dylan's path of crime takes an unexpected turn when he meets Myra, a sharp-witted and street-smart woman who immediately intrigues him. Unlike others in his life, Myra possesses a certain resilience and cunning that make her stand out. She sees through people's facades and plays her own games in a world dominated by crime and deception. Despite his hardened nature, Dylan is drawn to her, perhaps recognizing a kindred spirit or merely another challenge. 2. A dangerous romance. Their relationship is anything but conventional. Built on secrecy, passion, and a mutual understanding of survival, their romance burns with intensity. However, trust is a fragile concept between them. Myra senses there is more to Dylan than he reveals, while Dylan himself remains guarded, unsure whether he can fully let her in. Their fiery connection thrives on their shared willingness to take risks, but beneath it simmers an unspoken tension. 3. The cracks begin to show. As Myra spends more time with Dylan, she begins noticing inconsistencies in his stories, his behavior, and his actions. Her instincts tell her that he is hiding something far darker than she initially suspected. Small doubts turn into quiet investigations, and soon, Myra starts piecing together a terrifying truth about Dylan's true nature. The closer she gets to uncovering his secrets, the more dangerous their relationship becomes, setting the stage for an inevitable confrontation. Chapter 4. The Rise of a Kingpin. 1. The Big Heist. With his reputation solidified in the underworld, Dylan sets his sights on his most ambitious crime yet. This high-stakes heist is not just about money, it's about dominance. The meticulous planning, the calculated risks, and the sheer brutality involved make this operation the defining moment of his criminal career. When the heist succeeds, Dylan is no longer just a feared gangster, he becomes a legend. His name spreads like wildfire, striking fear into rivals and earning both admiration and resentment. 2. The price of power. Success, however, comes with consequences. Dylan's growing influence makes him a target not only for rival criminals but also for law enforcement. Enemies emerge from every corner, some seeking revenge, others aiming to take his throne. He finds himself in an unending war for control, forced to make ruthless decisions to maintain his grip on power. As the pressure mounts, paranoia sets in. Every deal, every ally, and every move must be calculated, or he risks losing everything he has built. 3. The expansion of an empire. Realizing that brute force alone won't secure his legacy, Dylan takes his empire to the next level. He extends his influence beyond the criminal underworld, weaving his way into politics and law enforcement. Bribes, blackmail, and strategic alliances allow him to operate with near impunity. Judges, officers, and officials fall under his control, making him untouchable for now. But with power comes complacency, and as Dylan's empire grows, so too does the number of people waiting for him to slip. Chapter 5. The First Mistake. 1. A killing gone wrong. Dylan has always been precise, ruthless, and calculated in his crimes, but one night, everything goes wrong. In what should have been a routine hit, a moment of carelessness leaves behind loose ends, a witness, a piece of evidence, or a body discovered too soon. The mistake is small but dangerous, setting off a chain reaction that Dylan can't fully control. For the first time, he feels the weight of uncertainty creeping in, knowing that even the smallest slip can bring down an empire. 2. The Noose tightens. Law enforcement, long kept at bay by Dylan's power, begins closing in. Detectives start connecting dots, informants whisper his name, and cracks in his organization become visible. Dylan, once untouchable, senses the shift. He grows increasingly paranoid, lashing out at those he suspects of betrayal and scrambling to cover his tracks. His enemies, both within and outside his syndicate, see the weakness, and they begin circling like vultures. The empire he built on fear and violence is no longer as stable as it once was. 3. Myra's discovery. Meanwhile, Myra has been following her own suspicions. The man she once saw as powerful and invincible now appears reckless and dangerous. Driven by instinct, she starts digging into Dylan's past, uncovering secrets that were never meant to see the light of day. What she finds is more horrifying than she imagined, proof of Dylan's darkest crimes, evidence that could destroy him. But with knowledge comes danger, and as Myra realizes the full extent of Dylan's brutality, she must decide, will she run, confront him, or turn him in? Chapter 6. The Hunter becomes the hunted. 1. A detective's obsession. 4 years, Dylan has evaded the law, but now he faces a relentless adversary, Detective Carter. Unlike the corrupt officers Dylan has dealt with before, Carter is different. He's not motivated by money or power, he wants justice. Armed with new evidence and an unshakable determination, Carter makes it his personal mission to bring Dylan down. Every move Dylan makes is watched, every ally questioned, and every safe house compromised. The walls are closing in, and for the first time, Dylan is the one being hunted. 2. Betrayal within the ranks. As pressure from law enforcement mounts, Dylan's once loyal circle begins to crack. The fear that once kept his men in line is no longer enough. Someone close to him, perhaps a trusted lieutenant or even Myra, turns informant, feeding crucial information to Carter. Dylan is blindsided, not knowing who to trust. The betrayal stings more than any enemy attack, and in his desperation, he lashes out, making rash decisions that only accelerate his downfall. 3. The inevitable fall. With law enforcement closing in and his empire crumbling, Dylan is left with few options. His allies have abandoned him, his resources are depleted, and there's nowhere left to run. In a final act of defiance, he chooses to go out on his own terms. Whether he meets his end in a violent shootout, a desperate escape attempt, or a betrayal from within, one thing is certain: Dylan's reign is over. The man who built his empire on blood and fear is finally undone by the very forces he once controlled. Closing. The legacy of Dylan's darkness. Dylan's rise and fall serve as a grim testament to the dangers of unchecked ambition. From his humble beginnings in poverty to his reign as a ruthless crime lord, his journey was paved with violence, betrayal, and an insatiable thirst for power. Yet, in the end, all his wealth, influence, and fearsome reputation could not save him. His empire crumbles, his allies turn against him, and the law finally catches up. His story is not one of triumph, but of inevitability, proving that no man, no matter how powerful, can escape the consequences of his actions. As the novel closes, a lingering question remains: was Dylan always a monster, or did the world shape him into one? Was his descent into crime a result of personal choice, or was he a product of a violent, unforgiving environment? The novel offers no easy answers, leaving the reader to ponder whether Dylan ever had a chance at redemption or if he was doomed from the start. Ultimately, The Dead Stay Dumb is not just a crime thriller, it is a meditation on the brutality of crime and its inevitable consequences. Dylan's story is a cautionary tale, showing that a life built on violence can only end in destruction. Whether through justice, revenge, or fate, those who live by the sword must, in the end, fall by it. This content was brought to you by Dad-Son Education, a not-for-profit organization dedicated to providing insightful literary discussions. If you found this material thought-provoking, make sure to stay connected for more compelling stories. Pass this along to others who appreciate gripping narratives, and let us know your thoughts in the comments section below.